I'm going to read a short essay called A Brief Time in the Life of a Spatial Thinker. It's only a few minutes long. It'll do best if you close your eyes and just listen. Single acts of spatial thinking can be described in isolation, such as a surgeon evaluating a tumor, and we have described different geographies, life, physical, social, and intellectual, as distinctive realms of spatial thinking. Yet in reality we are constantly and continuously moving within and between these realms, using representations and reasoning with spatial concepts in a very natural and automatic manner, usually without a second thought. Take, for example, the mental thought processes that might occur during your drive to work. Driving itself is a thoroughly spatial process that demands constant monitoring of your own location, often within a choreography of other 2,000+ pound objects moving at high speeds in parallel or opposing directions. You automatically adjust your speed while coming to a sharp curve, even though you have long forgotten the specific lessons that you had in high school about what happens to the momentum of an object as it's forced to change its trajectory. Better slow down. It rained a lot last night, and there's still water on the roadway. Given how much it rains here every spring, you'd think they would have put in more drainage ditches along this stretch of road. As you pass a gas station, you note that the prices have gone up considerably, and you think of the map you saw in yesterday's paper showing how gas prices varied all over your region. You quickly glance down directly at your gas gauge and see that you've got about a quarter of a tank. That should equal about 80 miles, plenty to last you until the weekend, when you'll have more time. At that instant your ears perk up when you hear a siren from somewhere, but after a couple of seconds you can tell from its sound that it's both distant and not moving in your direction, so you disregard the fading noise. A sign in a florist's window reminds you not to forget Mother's Day, and you think of calling your mother, but then you remember that she's on vacation far away and in an earlier time zone. Plus, she's way up in the mountains and her cell phone probably won't get clear reception anyway. It makes you think of that map your carrier provided that showed their coverage areas, and you wonder how that's determined. A combination of where cell phone towers are and where mountains block signals, and what role do satellites play? But the tower information must change pretty quickly. Seems like they're always putting up new ones. Right then you pass one of those towers that's designed to look like a tree, with fake green branches to blend into the background more. You smile as you notice that in fact the tower is not only significantly taller than the trees around it, but it's also meant to be some kind of pine tree or other conifer, and they've stuck it in the middle of a bunch of shorter deciduous trees. So much for blending in. You flip on your turn indicator, slow down, and pull into the new breakfast place. Used to be a small Italian restaurant, but nobody ever went there, and before that it was a bar that opened only after midnight. Now that it serves breakfast and lunch, the lines are always long. This is an ideal location for easy access by commuters. Today you're in a hurry, so as you stand in the carry-out line, your mind turns to the engineering task that your team has been struggling with at work. You have to fit several circuit boards into a wind generator controller so that they don't overheat, and so far the group hasn't come up with any designs that solve the problem. You order a bagel and watch the counter staff place it into the vertical holder so they can slice it safely. Ah, a bagel balancing vertically. That bagel reminds you of one of the large support struts that's in your machine. What if you use that strut to align the circuit boards vertically instead of their current horizontal arrangement? You make a mental note to try it as soon as you get to the office. Once back in the car, you reach over to flip on the radio to catch the end of the morning talk show, but it's always sounding like fuzz, and you remember that your young son had been playing with all the dials and buttons the other day, and it seems he has lost your station. In fact, not only has he moved off your station, but he's toggled it over to AM radio. You fumble for a bit with the AM tuning dial, not even really sure where to begin since it's been ages since you've listened to AM. With a quick bit of nostalgia, you recall having listened to an AM radio show on Sunday nights when you were growing up, and it had been broadcast from a city far away from where you lived, and you remember your parents explaining why AM signals came in so much more clearly at night time than in the day. Something about how waves at that frequency travel more easily through the atmosphere after dark. And you make a note to explain that to your kids sometime. But for now you switch it back to FM. Oops, didn't see that curve coming. Better put your bagel down, keep your eyes on the road, and let your fingers do the moving. Good thing you're familiar enough with your radio interface to be able to do it without looking. Upper left button is the one you want, and finally you've got your morning news. As you turn into the parking lot at your office, you begin your regular search for an empty spot that's on the east side of one of the few trees, knowing that by the end of the workday the car will be cooler, having been in the shade from the afternoon sun in the west. But then you remember that today you have to rush out quickly at noon for a dentist's appointment, so you go for a spot that's closest to your building. The only one remaining in the closest row is reserved for your boss, and you're still hoping to move up the organizational ladder, so you better not park there and irritate her. You find another spot nearby. It's a tight fit between two other cars, but you squeeze into the space available, trying to leave as much room as possible for the driver's door on the car on your right side. You can't bear to think of another scratch or ding from a carelessly swung open car door. It's 8:15 a.m., and already a busy day in the life of a spatial thinker.